on my list for the week was having conversations with customers who are a little bit they're frustrated and challenged with putting together an outreach stack, essentially, and where AI fits into that. So it's a bit of a tech discussion and a bit of an AI discussion. But for kind of a short and a bit of a segment of this afterwards, I was asked today by a customer, like, how do we put together an outreach stack when getting emails in inbox is difficult? How do we keep the human in the vibe of the messaging as well, which is really important? But how do we actually get our message out, sharing with folks who would want to hire us, sharing the value that we deliver? So I'll just kind of compartmentalize the ideal stack and what we use, and hopefully that's helpful for other folks. So I'll kind of put an example together for Dotfusion. So we look to serve mid-enterprise companies in 5 specific verticals, and we have a bit of a story to tell, but our challenge is, like, how do we actually meet the right person that would love to work with us? So first of all, we have to figure out what is our total addressable market, and those are typically companies that have websites that are soon to be modernized, or mobile apps. There's kind of a plan to update websites and mobile apps. We figure that of 100 companies in that addressable market, there's maybe 3 that have a need. So we got to find those people. So we use some list generating tools like Apollo or ZoomInfo. And then we enrich that data with some tools like Clay, for example, will kind of help you find the right people. And then what I think is important for the conversation here is where AI comes into it. And with the right tooling, we can have AI help us a little bit in crafting a personalized message to folks, or a small segment of the message itself. And that can be done either within the applications or with your normal Claude or GPT or whatever you're using, kind of in integration mode. And then we'll set up kind of, we call them like thoughtful sequences of communication and not overbearing, but we definitely want to have a recognizable knock on the door and say, hey, I'm here with this great value to add. So yeah, happy to talk about that more, but I thought I'd just stage that in the discussion here in general.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I'd love to learn more how Clay is enriching the data. There's Dave. How Clay is enriching that data and how it's finding that, because we've seen some of success on some of the things we've been doing, and I think it's very cool. I don't know if you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's kind of 2 facets of how Clay works for enrichment. It comes natively with integrations. It has its own enrichment capability. It has native enrichment with other tools. But the best way to do it is you actually connect the third-party tools into Clay through API integrations or webhooks or whatever the system is that connects things together. Because Clay credits add up really quickly. Sometimes you're spending 40 to 50 credits on a enrichment. If it's looking for an email address or a series of relevant posts to your business from that person's LinkedIn and that kind of thing. So you need to be, I call it, you need some craftsmanship in all of this, and essentially that's what makes a difference. So yeah, I thought that was cool to share, and I'll be open to discuss that more. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a demo one day. Because as organizations need to mature their kind of outreach and tech stack, it's inevitably AI enabled.
Yeah, and it seems to save a lot of time too. It seems to save a lot of time on that manual outreach, buying lists, setting them up in the email programs. This seems a lot more.
It's like go slow to go quick. Which one of my mentors, Graham, kind of reinforces, where make the whole plan, map it all out. And you're almost forced to, because the tools can be overwhelming if you're just kind of stutter starting. You kind of want to have it all mapped out and go forward. So that's that part. What do you got these days, Rob?
Well, we're getting into the voice agent stuff a lot, and we're in the process of launching it for one of the centers. And there was some interesting news that came across my email today, where Ralph Lauren has implemented an AI voice assistant in their stores. And it just launched, I think, in the last week or so. where it's acting as an in-store stylist to help people pick out clothes, look at things that may work well with their, what they wear, what colors they should be wearing, things like that. And I think this whole idea of this voice agent or this AI assistant in your life is becoming more and more normalized. And seeing a company like Ralph Lauren calling it Ask Ralph. So it's, you're talking to Ralph and he's helping you pick your clothes or pick whatever style works. I think it's pretty cool.
Hey, we should get Ralph to talk to Harry.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think that would be pretty interesting.
We're going to put the two phones together and see what they
Can you have a well-appointed agent?
Yeah, maybe.
That's
and then
funny.
Pick some cool clothes for it to wear or how it should style Harry.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I'm seeing that too, is it's sort of like everybody's on the edge of like wondering if they should be implementing things and sort of looking around them at what other businesses are doing. And there's businesses that are extremely bold and are taking jumps into that market, thinking like this novelty could pay off and create efficiency and create a higher level of engagement and a better level of service and all of these things. But I think there's a hesitation too in the business community to go too deep too quickly on some of these.
Who wants to be first?
Yeah, that's it. And so people are all kind of like, hey, maybe once Ralph jumps in, maybe we'll jump in type of thing, right? So, I think it's becoming more commonplace though. And a lot of people are looking at thoughtful ways to integrate these things into their business operations. And I think that's where, it's great to do an audit with a business like Tricycle to see, hey, like what are you guys doing right now with your business processes, and what can we do to convert some of those repetitive, high cost, low efficiency processes into automations that start to really prove effective for the business, right? So I think, it's really good to see, all three of us have our own perspective on the types of tools that are useful, like, in our own hemispheres. But it's cool to hear about how, some of these tools are affecting the work that you guys are doing for sure.
Yeah. Shoot, I was going to say something and it just slipped my mind.
Oh, give you some prompts. Start with others.
It was something David said, and I was like, oh yeah. Shoot, now I can't think. Oh, it was this idea. Sorry. So I had this analyst reach out to me this week where he works with property management companies, commercial real estate, and he said, we're starting to look at where we can implement AI in all different areas of our business, so that we can see how it can kind of speed up some of those areas, especially when I guess it comes to analyzing information. There's these analysts that work with asset managers that need to look at all the aspects of a property, of an asset, and where can they find savings, where can they do things, and they spend days and weeks, like hours and hours, going through information and data, and AI is something that it can get in there and really speed some of that up.
It's amazing. And then the other amazing thing is that 1 million token models are becoming commonplace now. And Meta Llama 4 even has experimental 5 million and 10 million token models, which allows you to analyze massive data sets in one snapshot and to be able to get insights and relationships between that data in this huge context window. And I think that's going to change the lives of data analysts and people. We have a project coming through right now for a retail food company that's got like 30,000 plus stores and 14 plus data sources and has to make relationships. And right now they've got, very good marketing and sales executives who are, just industry veterans who can get a gut check on these things when they're siloed and kind of make business decisions. But there's limitations to even the best human data analyst and what they're able to achieve between deducing relationships between pieces of data that you might not have thought relationships like even existed between, and you're able to really make more informed decisions when you have a model that has that size of context window to be able to look at all the data and say, hey, have you ever considered this? Or these are patterns that we're seeing here. Or maybe there's even weather patterns that are tying into their retail sales at a brick and mortar level, and things like this that are so interesting, of the sort of push and pull of marketing and marketing automation that ties into all these different data points. Like, it's almost limitless, like how far you can take it with these solutions, which is what I just find it very interesting. The larger the context window these models give us, the more data we can pour into them to see if there's relationships, right? So it's cool, very cool stuff.
Is there something, I think a concern that I hear about a lot, like besides the security aspect, is the accuracy of this stuff, that we know sometimes when AI gets its hands on some data, it can make things up, or it can misread or misunderstand. Are there guardrails? Are there things we can put in place that help improve that accuracy?
Chris, do you want to take that one, or do you want me to? Like, I can speak to that a little bit by saying that, first of all, the models have gotten better at catching themselves, but people have gotten better at prompting and providing resources too. So if you say, like, only consult these resources and these statistics, and only give me like peer-reviewed evidence that I lean on to make these deductions that we're working off of, it's that you have to be very hyper specific about those guardrails. And, if I were to task a human with doing some of that work, though, I would expect probably like a higher level of, what we call hallucinations. But, they might not be as visible, but you might get a lot of errors within the human work. So it's sort of like, people point out that, electric cars that are self-driving get into accidents. And you're like, yes, but over the course of 1 million miles, humans get in probably 10 times more accidents over the course of 1 million miles than a self-driving car. So it begs the question, should humans even still be driving cars if they're 10 times more fatal per kilometer driving the car, right? Yeah. So it's sort of like that same conversation is like, when do we flip over to being comfortable with the outputs of models? And like, could a human produce that level of output with the same or less errors than the whatever model that you're producing with? And I think we're already at the point where the answer is the model is better. I personally believe that. But the caveat to that is you need guardrails, you need resource documents, you need good prompting with very specific borders. And you know what? You need to check the work that comes out. You can't just go, hey, I got something from GPT and I'm going to just full send, right? It's like you need to check over that, and you can talk to the model and you can say, listen, this is where you got it wrong. And from now on, I want you to approach it this way. And if you're within a project in GPT, it's going to learn from that across all of the rest of the projects that you're putting through that particular project module. So I think we're getting closer and closer to, that general intelligence that everyone's talking about.
Yeah, right. Chris, did you have any comment on that?
No, I'm not so involved in the security. I'm more involved in the dreaming things up and how to get them done. And maybe just a segue into that is for experiments we are doing right now with content platforms. So Agility CMS released their MCP in beta, and just an amazing example of creating a content model from a screenshot. So we're uploading a screenshot of a component or a set of components, and normally you've got to go in and create them in Figma.
Yeah.
The front end guys kind of get the model. So, we create the model itself, which is just the data that goes in it, and then the presentation layer around the model. And it does both. Build the model, all the fields of data you need to input in it from a content perspective. Robbie just disappeared, just so you know that.
Chris was showing me this, and it's like surreal to watch it. It's all fully connected, and it goes through the whole process of building it out, and it's actually very it's amazing to watch.
Yeah, it took it was 7 minutes to build a fairly complex model. That would take a developer a fair amount of time to build a presentation layer around that. It's not perfect, but it's the sign of things to come. Most platforms, like HubSpot, just released their MCP server. That's all sorted out now. It's kind of mainstream in a way. But that may be a good segue, Dave, into some of the stuff you're doing. We always have a bit of a discussion on no code kind of tooling and how that's progressing. And
yeah, there's a lot happening, and there's a lot more players joining in, and there's like Kodo as a IDE that came out, and it's sort of like a another coding assistant. But the huge one this week, I think, like the showstopper disruptive one, has again been Replit. And they dropped Replit Agent 3, and Replit Agent 3 has many upgrades. It's able to do self-testing now. It's able to run autonomously for 200-minute sprints, where it can achieve really complex development roadmaps and be let off to do that and go and iterate and test without human intervention. It's become a lot faster. The coding models, you can select between the regular Claude model or Claude Opus. It's a much higher cost model. It's 5 times the cost to flip over. But if you're doing some major large code base crunching and trying to dig through errors, you can get some extra firepower now. It's changed everything, because it's gotten to the point where it's highly effective to develop things as a product manager, from an idea right through to being fully functional. We've got a few app solutions that we're developing in-house right now, where we've been leaning on this to do end-to-end development of MVPs, and we're able to accomplish this with our end goals. And to think that a year ago that you'd be paying significant amounts of development costs to achieve the same things that we're able to achieve, with one person with a very clear vision of what they're doing. So that's amazing. And then the other thing that's going on that's really amazing is that within this new Replit, they've got a beta for automations and workflows, which is huge. And it brings an automation workflow solution within the environment, and then allows you to agentically develop that automation. So there was one thing that Rob's been working on, where he's has a task that every day at 8 a.m. he has to go and pull information from Zoho and bundle it up and email it to stakeholders. And it's a 7 days a week task. And I'm like, this one's perfect to do an automation case study for. And within this tooling, it's a lot easier for me to build these automations, connect all the authorization to get the tokens, which will be used to push and pull that information that we're getting on a daily basis. It was able to handle rate limiting, error handling, and incorporate everything, so that now we've got and the thing is that, Rob's sort of ask is sort of just I need to get these full list of emails sent to these stakeholders every day at 8 a.m. But I'm like, well, when you get 20 chat transcripts, what do you do with that? You look at it and you have to really go through it. So what I did was I built an extra layer where we put the OpenAI API key. It's using GPT-5. It's looking at all those chats, and then it's figuring out what are the urgent issues, what are the important issues, what are the recurrent issues, and what insights can I provide back to the end user in the header of this email that allows them to take action with very little effort. So, if 5 people come and say, I went on the website and the hours were this, and the person on the phone or chat said, actually the hours are this, and most likely at that point we need to go check the website hours. So it says, you need to go update the website hours, you need to do this, and it gives you a list of action items each day that work off of those chats. And I think very quickly we've eliminated, probably half an hour to an hour worth of labor, 7 days, that's 7 hours a week. 50 hours or 50 weeks a year, that's 350 hours that we can dedicate to some other task that makes the business more profitable, more efficient, more customer friendly. So just a perfect example of using an automation to make a meaningful difference in a business. And I think that's sort of what we're doing these days.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really cool how you implemented that layer of the AI insights to actually go in, because traditionally it was always just the chat transcripts, and then these marketing managers or property admins would go through and look for anything to say, oh, this needs to be updated, this needs to change, somebody asked this and we answered incorrectly. But now with that added layer, it gives that summary right at the front. It sounds like such a simple thing, but it's so impactful that it saves so much time, even on the client side.
Well, that's what
information.
That's what I was going to say, is not only internally has it saved you the time to distill and produce that information and output it, and that's all automated, but you've provided so much extra value that you hadn't even promised to your client, that now they're just receiving through this like awesome upgrade to services. And then when you offer these services to other spaces in the future, it's a great sales push to be like, hey, also you're getting these insights on a daily basis about what's going on inside all of your chat dialogues. And it's very easy to sort of, very easy to digest, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Cool.
It was a big win this week. This week.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
What else is on your minds?
Sorry, I was just going to say, you mentioned something earlier, David, and I wanted to mention it. And I think sometimes I feel I'm spoiled when I'm around guys like you who are very in tune with AI, using it so regularly. And then sometimes I speak to my clients who don't, and they're still learning. And like a workshop I ran last week, we really identified, prompting fundamentals.
Yeah.
Just prompting. And I know a lot comes from prompting, being able to prompt. I've seen some of your Uber prompts that you've created. What are some tips for people who, like, taking a step back?
It's great. Yeah.
How do they structure their prompts? How to, like, a cheat for me is, just to add, is a cheat for me is I ask the AI to write me the prompt.
That's like, okay. I was just going to say prompt to prompt.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to tell you, is every language model has documentation which says, here's the markdown language, sort of preferred markdown language format of prompting. And you can just put it in. You can get ChatGPT to produce its own template for the prompt and say, hey, based on your documentation for GPT-5, what is the best template for a prompt? You get that prompt, you evolve your prompt using that, and that's your starting point. And you can even get it to help you do that in Canvas mode, where you kick it back and forth and say, I'm not so good at this. I've got a rough idea of what I want to do. I'm going to kick it back and forth with you in Canvas mode for 5 minutes before we like push the gas down. And it's going to be like, great. Here's some questions for you. What do you want to do here? Oh yeah, I can. And even if you don't want to do it that way, you can answer back in voice mode or voice transcription mode. So even if you're just like, I don't feel like typing this crap, and someone just needs to pull this out of my brain, it can pull it out of your brain, right? And that's the awesome part, is you can have a little mini conversation, get your prompt together, and then hit go, and you're off to the races, I think. So I always prompt to prompt. I think like when we're developing voice agents and stuff, I've taken all of the documentation, prompting examples that they used as templates, fed this all into a prompting engine to create a project tool, which helps me create highly evolved prompts, and they're engineered right out of the box. And then I can start to fine tune them. And so that's build some tools, like use the tools to build the tools that are specific to what you're doing. If you ever want help doing that too, Rob, personally, if you need help, or anyone that's watching needs help getting started with AI, ask us to come in and do like a little audit. We'll give you 2 to 3 low-hanging fruit things that you can just start doing manually using models just to get started, so that you feel like, hey, these guys, gave me some cool stuff here. What's next? And reach out to us, because there's always, I'm happy to send someone on their way if they're not ready for a full solution and they're just looking for a way to maybe make something easier in their life. I'm happy to send them on their way with like a few things. It's just good business for everybody to be helping each other.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love that.
Sweet. Well, to any folks that are watching now or in the future, apologies for the rough start here today. There's still something funny with LinkedIn. Hopefully this is actually making its way through. If not, this will be on YouTube or some form of podcast. So I think what we should do is, for follow up with some of the technology and some of the ideas that we talked about on the show, maybe we'll put that in the comments, or some links to some tools. We are starting to welcome guests to the show as well. So if you have any colleagues that are either customers, folks that are adopting AI or in the AI space, let us know. I think that'll be fun to have some other voices joining us as well. And time goes by pretty quick here. We're wrapping up. Next week, we're going to have a focus on, I think, what folks are calling vibe coding tools, but more of a deep dive on, what we find is working, what isn't, what's easy to get started with. And we'll do a little bit of a deep dive. I think we'll have Riley join us from Dotfusion.
Yeah, I was going to say that'd be awesome if we could get Riley on here, because he's doing a lot of the design centric tools, and I'm sticking I'm just down the Replit hole. So I think I'll probably stick to my bread and butter in that discussion, and then we'll sort of dance around the other options. And I think Riley's got some pretty cool stuff that he's been deving out that Chris was showing me. So yeah, it'll be nice to get Riley on here.
Awesome. Okay, well, we're over and out, and back next week, same time, 3:00 on Wednesdays, always. And we'll catch you later. Thanks, guys, for making time in your
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it, man. That was fun. See you guys.
Okay.
See you, Rob. Thank you so much, man. See you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
How do we end this? I think we do this. Bye-bye.